Hello and welcome once again to the second edition of the KQL learning series. Welcome back. Basically, if you have been sticking around from the first video, I'm glad that you made it to the second one. And just bear in mind, I need to reiterate or remind you that this is not the easiest thing to go ahead and do. It, definitely is. It definitely requires, a lot of practice. But because it is that straightforward, that makes it all the more, easier to learn. It's like as I mentioned previously, it's one of the more easier languages to learn. So if you do find that you're experiencing you're not able to understand it, please go back to the first video and watch it again. Watch it until you understand it. If you still don't understand it, feel free to comment on this video, on that video, any questions that you may have. Hey, if it's a good enough question, I might, or if it's something, I don't mean good enough, but I mean if it's challenging enough, I might just make another video on that. So you're more than welcome to ask a question in the comment section, and I will get to it as soon as I can, of course. But yeah, on to today's lesson. What we're going to be looking at is three different aspects within KQL. We're going to be looking at the distinct function, we're going to be looking at the project function, and we're going to be looking at summarize function. Now, each of those are, I would say, critical operators in terms that you would use for your investigations. And I'll take you through it. You'll see why. They're very, very handy, very, very useful tools and operators that you can use. Especially because with KQL you are working with lots and lots of endless amounts of data, and this is not even just for a few hours. This is a little bit. So of course this is just Plug IT's test environment. If once you're out there in the real world, you'll see there's copious amounts of data, and you would need these functions in order to simplify your investigation process. So here we go. I'm going to use an example. We'll start with the distinct operator, which is probably the more one of the tougher ones to understand. It's not really that complex, but it basically the purpose of the distinct operator is it's basically just for you to see. I would say the best way to describe it is a label. If you wanted to see perhaps maybe all the users that have signed in over the last 7 days, then it will tell you just that. It will tell you just all the users that have signed in over the last 7 days. So let's do that. All right, so I'm just going to look at the sign-in logs again. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a distinct. I'm going to type the word distinct on the user principal name. All right, that is all that I'm going to do. And just to make this a little bit more fun, in fact I should have put this online too, my apologies. I'm going to make this where time generated ago wait, let me just see, this is greater than ago 7 days. All right, so I will get to this section in the next upcoming videos. All right, I just wanted to show you how this varies, so don't focus too much on line number 2. I want you to focus on line number 3. This is the more important one. So I'm just looking back for all the users greater than 7 days ago that have signed in. All right, so I'm just going to hit enter, or shift and enter actually, and here we can see these are the different users that have signed in over the last couple of days. We can see here we've got Ikram, Mel, and Zaid, myself. The other thing is we also have 2 instances of Microsoft service principal signing in the background. So that's also interesting to know. We can actually see here in the last 7 days, these are the people that have signed in. So that's pretty interesting, if you were looking for that sort of comment. If you wanted to, it's not really the best way to refine the search, I would say, but I would, if you wanted to get an idea of where they're coming from, you could simply just put a comma and then type the word IP address, and then it might tell you, okay, these are the IP addresses that they've signed in from over X amount, or these last couple of days. As we can see, these fall under within specific regions, so it's not a true public IP address, but yeah, furthermore, we just want to distinct. If we wanted to find out, distinct on, we could find out where the users are signing in from. Here we could see they're signing in from the location. We want to see the IP addresses that they're signing in from. We can do a distinct on the IP addresses. We can do a distinct on the code or the response that they got when they were signing in. So we could do a distinct on the result type. As you can see, I'm doing distincts on the various columns that we have in this data set. If I were to just highlight the top two, and I'm going to hit run or shift and enter on the keyboard, right, then it's only going to action these two that I've highlighted. Just bear that in mind. All right, let me actually even just remove that, just so that to avoid confusion. Right, so we have that. So I could do a distinct on most of these columns. If I wanted to do a distinct on, well, let's pick one. Let's pick an interesting one. Let's see. There we go. Status. So let's do a distinct on the status. As you can see, there are many different statuses there, and they're all unique. So this is going to, well, as we can see, that's a dynamic result, so it's not going to bring us up. I did say that this is, most of the columns in the data set. Let's go to, let's see, what is autonomous system number. All right, let's see if this will work. All right, there we go. The autonomous system number, it's bringing that up. It's bringing the only two that was used in the past 7 days. All right, so that's the wonderful part of a distinct. You could build an entire query, all right, when you could say this is in the last 7 days, where the result type 0, and 0 means that is a positive result, is a successful sign-in. Let's see, and we can still distinct sign in. Let me actually change this to make it more interesting. It's going to change this to user principal name, and there we go. So these are all the users that have made errors signing in. Maybe they didn't complete their MFA. Maybe they typed the password in wrong. Who knows what happened? But this is where the result is not successful. If we wanted to be successful, all I did was take away the exclamation mark, and now it's equals equals. And now these are the ones that have made successful sign-ins over the last 7 days. All right. I could make this even further. Space this and say where the location is ZA, which is South Africa. We have the same. But if we were to change this to not South Africa, let's see what happens. Oh, so I was the only one that signed in from outside of South Africa. That's pretty interesting. All right, so that's it for the distinct. You can do many different things with this. You could and you'll see later in the series I'll be using different variations of the distinct operator. But this is the basis for now. This is the basic thing. All right, so we're going to be moving on to the summarize, which is very similar, should I say, to distinct, but it's a lot easier to understand. For instance, if you wanted to query the sign-in logs where the users, maybe let's see, sorry, where the result type, let me just change this, result type equals, I wanted to see all the successful sign-ins, and then I will summarize, right? And I'll say the count, because we're obviously summarizing by a number here. Summarize count by the user principal name. Do you see what I did? I've just selected on the second line over here where the result is a successful result, but the count is I'm summarizing all the all of this, all the results by the user principal name, which is of course the sign-in name or the identity. So I'm going to run this, all right, and there we go. So these are all the successful results in the last 24 hours, and I'm summarizing this by user principal name. Let's change this to the last 7 days, all right, and I'll click run again, and there we can see we have 3 different users. We can see Zaid signed in 16 times, Mel signed in twice, and Ikram signed in 16 times as well. So there's definitely something, there's activity happening over here. We can see who are the more active users. You know, if we wanted to switch this up, we could say where the location is, you know, well, South Africa. And there we could see, you know, those numbers actually have changed because this is only reading the successful sign-ins from South Africa and it's summarizing it by the usernames. Isn't that simple enough to understand? Now, we got to remember per variable, per column, right? There is always going to be dynamic data that doesn't fit the, you know, the operator that you are using. All right, so it doesn't always compute. The only reason why we could do a summary over here is because we could count the number of successful instances that there were with the result type. So bear in mind that this does help for investigations, but it doesn't always compute with the data that exists in there. So I would say, you know, the more you use it, the more you try it, the better that you're going to get it, the more you're going to remember. It works with different data sets, yes and no, but it also depends on the data that you're querying. That's going to give you, you know, a number that you're looking for or not. Another useful hint that we can say is if we go down, you know, on the time range, we can manually select for as long as the Sentinel log analytics workspace is holding the data, you can query back as far, you know, as 3 months. So let's have a look, shall we? I'm querying back 3 months and while we can see the numbers are rather different over here. And that's pretty interesting. All right, so let's go back to the last 24 hours. And the last thing that I'm going to show you guys is the project operator. All right, so the project one is something that I really like to use because it gives me the results in a nice spectrum that I can see and I can choose the data that I want to see. All right, so remember when, you know, I, you know, queried this and all of these details come on the project. What it does basically, it's you know, let's say all I can do is I can say I'm projecting the columns that only I want to see. So if I wanted to see the time generated and if I wanted to see the username, all right, I would see just those two columns, and this will give me, you know, just the time and the username that are signed in there, because this is giving me just exactly what I want to see. Well, maybe I wanted to look at this in a particular order, you know. I could simply just add another line and say sort by time generated, and with, I would say, descending. Let's see, does this work for us? Let's try ascending. Oh, either way, it's still in a specific order, and if you wanted to sort, you didn't even have to type this in. You could simply just click on this, you know, at the top over here. All right. Yeah, but now, of course, I'd like to see a lot more to conclude my investigation. So I'm going to add things like data that's relevant to me, that's relevant to the purpose that I'm searching for, like the IP address, like the location, like the result type, all right, and the result description. And I might even add the app display name. And perhaps the device detail. This is what I generally use in my investigations. You know, I'm just quite used to that system that I've got over here. And as you can see, you know, I can see all that information that I wanted to see over there. I'm projecting it and I'm looking at it in ascending order. So, you know, let's just switch this to descending over here because this is showing in UTC. We can see you've got the time, the user principal name, the IP address that was used, the location, the result type, the result description, the app display name, and the device detail, even though there's not much in there, but I'm still showing you that I'm projecting that particular columns, all of these particular columns. And there are various, you know, subsections or additions to this operator and project, like let's say project, well, let me just make this better, away, you know, and project keep, etc. But, you know, more on that later. I won't go into too much detail. I just wanted to show you the basis of what the project operator does. So we've got this over here. We can see the data, and I mean, you could refine the data. Let's say, for instance, you could see there's more than one user signing in over here. I remember what we did previously. You know, I could just add in with their user principal name equals, you know, zaid at plugit.co.za. and it's only going to show me the results that Zaid uses to sign in, whether he's connected to VPN or he's connected to the IPsec tunnel. It's still going to show me all the IP addresses and all the data that I want to see in an ascending order. All right, just another useful tip: if you don't want to see the time in UTC, you can always remember you can click here in the bottom left hand corner and you can select local time, and this will show you the local times of signing in. As you can see, this is closer to my time now. The last time that I signed in was at 1926 on the 14th of August 2023. And that is pretty much it as far as just projecting data. Now, the tools that I've given you so far, this already shows you, they're very powerful, just for you to extract the sort of data that you want, And even if you didn't want to type anything, we could simply just do something like this. If you wanted to look at, a specific IP address, you could drop one of these columns down and you could say include that. You right click on it and include, and automatically it'll populate in the section, and whoa, look at that, we've got built-in query. And there we go. So only the IP addresses that have, that are this IP, only the sign-ins that have signed in from this IP address will be displayed. All right. Let's just go back and practice a bit. Let's take this out. I'm going to cancel out line number 2, and I'm going to run this, and now it's going to show me all of the sign-ins from this IP address, but regardless of who because the user is, because this has been cancelled out with those 2 forward slashes. All right. Yeah, let's just make this more interesting just to show you guys how that worked. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to query the audit logs for the last 24 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's see, with the identity, include that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say the operation type, include that, result, include that. I'm level 4. So it's specifically looking at all of those, and here you can see I'm just going where, right clicking, right, crazy, and it's refining this. And I mean, this is a different data set because previously I was using sign-in logs. Now I'm using the audit logs, and I am just, now I can say project, maybe I just want to see the time and maybe just the operation name. And let's have a look. Cool. There we go, operation name. I'm only seeing those 2 things. And if I didn't want to use this over here, I could say, if I wanted to type out the time frame that, I wanted to see, I could even say where time generated is equals greater than ago. And then we'll say, 24 days. Wow, that's 24 days. How about 24 minutes? Change that to an M. Boom, nothing. All right, try 24 hours. That's something there. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 functions. There's more to come in the series next, and if you do have any questions, please feel free to comment below. You can even email me, zaid@plugit.co.za. I'm happy to assist with any questions that you guys may have. I might even make a video out of any questions because you guys do come up with interesting questions at all. If you have any requests, by all means, let me know. I'm always available, well, on email during business hours. All right, take it easy. I'll catch you guys.